everyone, and welcome back to Houston is Inspired on Afrovibes TV. I'm your host, Savannah Jones, and we're on the show where we share successful stories from around Houston of all walks of life. Today's guest star is Alyssa Jones, a creative, and a young creative at that, from Houston.
Hello, beautiful people.
Yes, welcome to the show, Alyssa. It's so great to have you on here, and I'm so excited to hear your point of view and everything that you have to share. So why don't we start off by you introducing yourself to the audience, kind of tell them a little about yourself and things that you're interested in.
So my name is Alyssa Jones. I'm 18 and I'm an artist. I love fashion, modeling, painting, drawing, literally any kind of creative medium. I'm all over it. So
interesting. See, this is a bit out of my realm of knowledge just because I consider myself a woman of logic, okay? I'm an economics major, I'm a businesswoman, an athlete.
And I'm the opposite.
And what's interesting is you guys may not know, but we're actually sisters. So we are sisters. I don't know if we look alike. I hope that we do because you're beautiful. So, I hope we do. But I'm so excited to have this opportunity, to have a show, and not only just to have that, but to have my family come on this show. I think that's such a wonderful moment, and I'm so excited to see what our extended family thinks, like our grandparents. Hi, Grandma and Pop. So great to see you. Yes, and our aunts and uncles, and our friends, and all that community, to see us doing so well and to be so successful that we are here today. So I'm very proud of you for coming on and being brave enough,
I'm incredibly nervous.
Yes, at 18 years old, guys, so young and so vibrant, yet to be on a stage right now where you can talk in front of a camera and you can talk to the world. Like I said while we were on the way here, you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching and who's interested in your story. And I know that you were nervous coming onto the show, because this is a show about success. It's about, accomplishment and inspiration. And some people that are out there watching, I'm sure you would agree with me, believe that they haven't achieved success, or that, their story does not matter. It's not big enough. It's not important enough. And I want everyone that's watching this show to know that success looks different for each person. Success is individual, and it's your own feeling and your own story. And so I have you here today because I believe that you have a story, and you have a story that the world should hear. So tell me your story. Start by telling me this. What inspires you to create art?
So honestly, everything and nothing at the same time.
Would you like to share?
I think my story is one of ups and downs like crazy. And along the way, I've found beauty in chaos. Since I was young, I used to use trash and just random items from around the house to create something beautiful and quirky. And I never really stopped that. I believe in using your resources to create even when you don't have many. And for me, that can look like reusing canvases or thrifting paintbrushes and little holders to keep them in. And I've just always found joy in things that are different and creative.
Would you say that you feel that you may be different from a lot of people in your life?
In a way. I mean, I am a redhead, which you don't see a lot on TV. And I guess I never really fit the mold that I've seen around me. I've always felt like I was on a different path, even when everyone told me that I would find my place. It felt unreachable. And to get around that, I really had to stop and smell the roses and experience the beauty that was already around me.
I admire that about you. I admire how differently you view the world and how you take the time to stop and smell the roses, or to pick up a paintbrush and spend hours and hours on end, creating things. And then I see you make this beautiful art and it looks perfect to me. And then you're like, no, this isn't good enough. And you'll paint right over it and restart again. And I just can't fathom how you have that centered patience, to be able to do something for that long, and the passion to make sure that it's perfect to your standard. And even when it's not, you find some way to spin it into something beautiful. And it takes a very unique type of person to be able to see the world that way, to take the time and embrace the beauty of the world that maybe people on the outside cannot see. Like I was saying on the ride here, we talked a lot before we came on this show about what we would talk about and things like that. And I knew that you would already, once you got on here, you have so many things to share, that I think that you're just nervous to tell the world, because you're maybe fearing judgment, or maybe you fear that, people ridicule you at school, or they'll, think that you're kind of strange. And I want you to know that being strange is being wonderful, because if you were like everyone else, you'd be boring. You're exciting, you're fresh, you're new. And that is something that is so wonderful about our city, is because it is the place to be fresh, to be new, to be someone. You see that every day when you're driving through downtown. You want to be somebody, and being somebody doesn't mean being the same as everybody. And I think you being a redhead, you were born to not fit in. You were literally born different than other people. And you've had to navigate that, and that has shaped your personality so much to be so quirky and so different. And I think that your art truly reflects that. Is there maybe others that you feel inspire you in your art to be different and to stand out?
Well, I am very inspired by, obviously, the art in Houston and all the amazing creatives I've met. But if we're speaking like historically, I'm really inspired by Frida Kahlo and Salvador Dali, just because of their experiences with using their circumstances to create more and even better art. Like Frida Kahlo was bedridden for a large portion of her life, and she created her paintings on a table in her bed. And they were beautiful, they were incredible. And it just shows me how no matter what you're facing, there's always a way to make something beautiful out of it. No matter what resources you have or don't have, there's a way to be creative. And unlike things like, for instance, skydiving, may not be accessible to everyone, but I believe that creativity is.
That's beautiful, honestly. And I can't believe that you were nervous starting off with this, because now that I hear you talk, I am invested. I want to know more about Frida Kahlo.
Thank you.
I realized I didn't know squat about Frida Kahlo, except, seeing her art on the walls.
She's an incredible one.
I do know, though, from my art experience, we actually have the same art teacher.
Shout out to Mr. Reeves.
Yes, and he's still my favorite teacher to this day.
Mine too.
I had an art teacher who really inspired me, and who I know wanted me to pursue art more and wanted me to dive into it. And that wasn't my path, but I'm so appreciative that he allows that to be your path and encourages you to do more with art and to take up the mantle where I left off. And from the background that I've learned from art history and, art stories, I do know that Frida Kahlo had a unique image. She had a unique facial feature with her eyebrows that, made her different from other people.
100%.
So how would you feel that you being born different as a redhead, as, someone that has unique features, how has that influenced your art and your creativity?
So a majority of the time, I paint people who I perceive as beautiful, which often means unique and different, and not really fitting modern beauty standards. I find beauty in the whimsical and the more ornate and just out there features, like bright, punky pink hair, or a nose that just curves in a fun way. I love depicting it in my art because I feel different, and I don't feel like I am represented very often in the media. Being a petite and very short and kind of funny looking redhead.
Funny looking. I think funny looking is an interesting way to say beautiful, right?
Thank you.
Absolutely. I think you're conventionally beautiful, and I think most people in the audience would agree with me. And if you don't, honestly, if you don't, we don't care. But I believe you're conventionally beautiful, and I think that you being different actually makes you more beautiful, and it makes you stand out. And I think that's going to help you a lot in your future. As you come to be my age and older, you'll find your path, you'll find your way. And I'm very excited to see, what you do with that and how your experience will shape your future.
Yeah.
Something else I'd like to ask about is when you're creating art, you were talking earlier about making something out of nothing. Give me maybe an example of that. How do you use unconventional objects to create art? Is your art sustainable, and why?
One of my favorite things that I've done recently is saving the water from my paint and leaving it outside for the water to evaporate and using the sort of powder that's left from the paint to create more paint. And paint chips and old canvases, things you can find at a thrift store, blankets as fabric that you thrift, anything like that. It just inspires me so much to give things a new home and a new life to them because it shows you a path that you don't have to create something out of nothing from that. In a way, you are, but you aren't.
So you view it as already being something.
Yes.
You view
Yes.
even the most simple objects, a magazine.
Yes.
You take that and flip it up and make something out of it.
It has a story.
You see potential in small things.
Yeah, yeah. And in that way, you don't have to create something entirely new to tell your story.
That's very interesting. You're almost like a little art scientist in a way.
I guess.
About the water evaporating and how that affects your paints. And
yeah.
I've even seen you use cornstarch before to
thicken the paint, makes it feel more.
Yes. Really, I didn't know thicker paint actually seems more expensive, but now that you mention it, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Did you teach yourself these things? Did you find it on TikTok or social media, or were you taught these things conventionally?
A lot I've learned from the internet and just doing extensive research, books, magazines, the internet, obviously, and many teachers and tutors I've had along the way to create what I do today. It's helped me so much just to explore the world and see what it has to offer. The more I learn, the better I feel about creating, and the more well-rounded I feel that my skills are becoming.
How would you say that social media and your presence on social media, your experience there, how has that influenced your art in a way? Are you inspired by AI-generated art? Are you inspired by, other artists on the internet? What about the technology use inspires your creativity?
I do love looking at other people's work online, and I've found a passion for scrolling through Pinterest for many hours.
Pinterest, really?
Yeah, I love it.
What kind of pins do you usually save to your pin board?
Anything cutesy and artsy. I love images of fruits and people from different places, and silks and different fabrics that inspire me. Really anything can become art if you just focus your eye and train it to be able to see it.
I love the way that you view materialism and you view the potential, in everything that you have. You know how to, like you were saying about your worldview, you know how to take even the most simple things and spin them to be something beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about how you are as a person, that you can connect with anyone, that you can spin anything to be something beautiful. And that's a talent. That's very much a skill. And I believe that is a sign of success. Like I said earlier, success is different for everyone. Thank you so much for those thoughts. And I hate to pause us there, but we will be back after this commercial break. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Houston is Inspired. Thank you for your patience during that commercial break. So, I am so excited for this next part because we finally get to show everyone your art. I know. And, I have seen your art since you were, a small child. I've seen you doodling and sketching. By the time you were maybe like 3 years old, I saw your art and it was already good. But I'm just so impressed by how far it's come and how much you've developed as an artist. So do you mind showing the audience what you brought today?
So this is my painting. It remains unnamed because I couldn't find something that just spoke to me the way that it does physically in words, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. A lot of people can't figure out names for their art, so sometimes...
All my paintings are unnamed. It's so annoying.
Sometimes people will name their art kind of weird things
because
they can't think of a name. I've seen some very silly names for art that don't really go with the piece, but the artist chooses the name. You should put whatever name you want to call it.
Yeah.
If I had to ask you to pick a name right now for that art piece, what would you name it?
Brenda.
Brenda. Okay.
No, I'd say Lady of the Lagoon.
Lady of the Lagoon. I like it. Very like dramatic, very whimsical.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So can you tell us in detail like how you chose those colors, how you created that art piece?
So
The inspiration.
what I originally did was I laid out a few background colors with the blues and the greens because I knew I wanted something kind of underwater to represent the deep emotions I was feeling when I was creating it. And then I squinted at a photo of myself in some kind of dim lighting for the skin tone. And I applied the colors to replicate what I was seeing in the photo with the funky shadows and just the interesting, like, color palette that I had in the photo. And everything else just kind of, my hands did it. I don't know.
Freestyled it a little bit.
Yeah, a little
I
remix.
love that. I love that. So is this, you know, it is a person with red hair.
Yes, it is meant to be sort of a self-portrait, but more of the emotions that I was feeling rather than a complete replication of my visible image.
I see that. So it's more like how you view yourself inside, not necessarily just how you view yourself on the outside.
He was meant to be a portrait of the anger I was feeling with the sort of stagnation that was going on in my life at the time. I felt very stuck creatively, as if I wasn't making any progress and there really wasn't any room to grow. And when I made this piece, it sort of showed me the opposite of that. And that sometimes when I get in my head, you know, as creatives love to do, things stop their motion. And
almost like writer's block, like artist block.
Exactly.
Okay. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, you know, especially our viewers watching. You know, there's a lot of people out there who have all these talents and, you know, ability, but they almost feel blocked off sometimes, or maybe stressed out about creating, or sometimes stop creating altogether because of these feelings. So what do you usually do when you're feeling artist block?
So this is actually a wonderful thing that I'd love to talk about. I look inward at myself and try to find the root of the problem, a part of myself that I may be neglecting, or something that I may be putting off because it seems too daunting. Whatever it is, I just find that it's a personal problem most of the time. And to actually get down to the nitty-gritty of starting that next painting when you feel that heavy art block, put some paint on the canvas. You are not blank. Why would you start with a blank canvas? Paint it orange, paint it green. It doesn't matter. It's going
just to give you that start, to give you that somewhere to start off with.
It. And then on your way to the final product, you can do research and you can look for inspo and you can do all these things. But if you sit there stewing over it for days on end, you're not going to get anywhere.
I totally get that. You know, I'm the same way with, you know, my homework in school, and,
100%.
you know, my work with my students. You know, sometimes I feel, you know, creatively blocked in other ways as well. And I have to also do self-care. You know, you have to take care of yourself first before you can, you know, really show the world what you want and really, you know, create wonderful things. You have to make sure that your mental health is okay, that your routine is okay, that you are healthy, you know, physically. And I think that's very important. And I think your art reflects that. When you are your happiest, when you are your most cared for, your art shows that.
I agree.
And when you're sad, your art reflects that. Sometimes when you're sad, it's a little scary. It is. Your art looks more aggressive. It looks more forced sometimes. And that's how I can usually tell the state of your emotions.
Yeah.
So I think that's very powerful, how much you're able to pour yourself onto a canvas. You know, and then also the bravery you have to show that canvas to the world. You know, it's a very personal thing for people to share their art. I know a lot of artists out there are afraid to share their art. So for artists that are out there that are watching this, do you have any advice to give to them about being brave and showing your artwork to the world?
Honestly, you just kind of have to pretend that nobody's behind that camera. Like, if you expect that nothing will come from what you're doing, and you just put it out there anyways for your own feelings and for your own sense of self-value, it will grow and you will foster something beautiful without putting too much pressure on yourself. You know, you have to keep that flow going and avoid too many restraints on yourself and your ideas of perfection. Perfect is stupid. Practice makes perfect. but perfect practice makes stress.
You're basically saying that perfection is almost unattainable.
It's
and
completely unattainable.
when people set their sights on perfection, it limits them to what they're able to produce.
100%, yeah.
I fully agree with that. You know, as an athlete, I can say the same thing. You know, if I expected to be perfect every single day, I would have never touched that field.
Yeah.
I would have never made it as far as I have. You know, and even what I'm doing right now, like I stutter on camera. I, you know, sometimes forget what I'm supposed to say.
Try and count my ums.
Real. Yes, sometimes I stutter, sometimes I forget what I'm going to say. And if I was afraid of that being shown to the world, I wouldn't be here. And you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So by being brave, it allows you to accomplish more and to put yourself out there. And like I was telling you too, you never know who's watching. You never know who might be inspired by your story, or, you know, who might benefit from hearing your habits and your ways of dealing with creative block and things like that. I'm curious also, I see something behind you.
Yes,
I want to see that.
Sparkles. Are you guys ready? So I thrifted this jacket in Virginia in maybe 2019, 2018. So it's been many years of me loving this jacket. And I decided to give it a new life, and I painted this design on it.
Wow, I'm sorry. That glitter is catching my attention.
Oh, yeah.
And the pink, that is
pink,
amazing.
I love pink.
Wow, can I see that, please?
Yeah.
That is gorgeous. That is so many hours of
Yeah,
work.
I hand placed every rhinestone. The glue fumes got to me.
Wow.
But it's almost finished, and then it'll be finally ready for me to, you know, wear in my daily life to the supermarket and
I love the bow. The bow reminds me so much of like Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes,
something so trendy. Yes, I can see where that inspiration came from, and I love the paintwork that you did. That's such detailed paintwork.
It was actually very old and probably expired acrylic paint that I mixed with fabric paint to make sort of a leather finish.
Wow, and even on the front, you know, you've even gone as far as to detail the sleeves and give the sleeves almost like an ombre effect, and then the little detailing into here with the gems. I mean, these are hundreds of gems.
Oh, yeah.
Did you put these all by hand?
All by hand. I used tweezers to place each one while the glue was kind of tacky so they would stay better.
By tweezers?
Tweezers.
So how long do you feel that you spent on this project alone?
The paint job alone was maybe
I don't want to mess
3
it up.
hours. Oh, sorry.
I don't want to mess up your baby. Yes.
But the rhinestones maybe took 8 hours?
Okay, I was worried you were going to say days.
No. But
okay, 10 hours. That's still a long time.
Yeah, a lot of it included like sips of water and stuff, maybe. If I was lucky.
No food breaks?
No.
Like
an animal leaned over it.
Wow. See, that is what I can't understand. You know, sometimes I'll work on something for an hour and then just be like, I need a break, treat yourself. Yeah. You know, so for you to spend 10 hours placing small gems in a straight line, I think I'd drive myself mad trying to do that.
And they would pop off at me all the time when I would move the fabric. It was really annoying.
So what inspired you to create that jacket? Because that's definitely a departure from what you've created here. It's a very diverse skill set that you're creating. So what inspired you to start working on clothing?
Well, it was a very recent project, so I love this jacket. Literally did everything in this jacket. And at a certain point, it was unwearable in the condition it was, and I knew it would be very expensive to restore it. And I had just started in the fashion scene.
Really? So you're in the fashion scene?
With the modeling. Okay. And I had just started with like one of my first runway shows, and I felt like I was ready to take on a project that reflected both my creative side and my glamorous side. And I decided I had to give it a new life. I couldn't throw it away. So I used the resources I had, an old bedazzling kit from like literally before 2020, and a pair of tweezers I had in my drawer, and I got to gluing.
So all of the tools that you used on that jacket, I'm very interested. You know, I'm hearing this process about how you're putting this, you know, fashion together, you're putting this design together, and I would like you to elaborate a little bit on about what in the fashion world inspires you and what type of fashion are you interested in?
So I've always loved costumes and bright colors and fabrics, you know, things that catch the eye. And I found that editorial fashion is just so inspiring to me. And like street style, there's a lot of it, in Houston where I'm from. And I really value the creativity and the quality that goes into making each thing. You have to make it unique and yet not look cheap at the same time to make it couture.
Interesting.
I think I value that.
I talk about that a lot with friends and family, and I'm even though people always ask me about my outfits, they're always like, hey, like, where'd you get that? It must be expensive. And I'm like, baby, it's not always expensive.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know how to make things look more expensive by the way you style them, the way you accessorize things, the types of fabrics you're choosing.
Yeah.
So would you say that in a way, by giving fashion new life, by recreating things and doing sustainable fashion, that you're taking something and increasing its value, making it look more expensive and more appealing?
Because the amount of time and labor you spend on it can increase its value exponentially. And just having something that's one of a kind, that's different, and that resonates with you will resonate with other people too. People have similar experiences and they want something that makes them feel like their individuality is being shown off.
I love that. And what's really inspired me too is I'll come home from school and I'll hear the sewing machine on. And I'm like, I don't even know how you do that. That is such a tedious task and it's so difficult to learn to
stabbed
sew.
many of my fingers.
So how did you learn to sew, and maybe who inspires you to sew your own clothes as well?
Actually, my grandma. So shout out Jima.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Did she teach you how to sew?
She taught me how to sew at the kitchen table with your old sport shirts.
Really? So that's where they went. Now I know where they went.
Yeah, well, she taught me how to set the machine up, and every time I do it now, I think of her, and it's really meaningful to me to be able to learn from her and pass down that ability and that skill to, future generations of my family. That's what I want to do, and it makes me feel connected, to my family and to my roots, to be able to do something so, tedious and something that reminds me so much of her.
Make me cry. I know. Hold on, I'm like, I want to mess up my makeup, girl. You're gonna make me cry. We're gonna passing down seamstress ability to future generations. That is so wonderful, and that is everything that makes you special and such a young, blossoming creative. Would you say that? Do you have any goals in fashion? Is there something that you really like to do, or someone you'd like to work with?
I would love to have a collection, maybe a small one, nothing too grand, but something editorial that's suited specifically for redheads, and to have an all redhead lineup of models to walk the show. It would be very inspiring for me to see my culture on display like that.
That would be such a statement to little girls who, have never found a redhead Barbie.
No.
Look up to you as a redhead and want clothes to match their coloring and want, clothes that represent them. So I completely commend you for that, and I hope that you can achieve that one day.